Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. You might be a Cricut beginner thinking about buying your first Cricut machine, or you're a fairly new Cricut user and you're wondering what kind of supplies you need to get started. Today we're going to cover the 10, in my opinion, Cricut must-haves for beginners. Now, these aren't only for beginners, so even if you're an experienced Cricut user, you might just watch, see if you agree with these must-haves. Maybe you have some things that you love, want to recommend. Drop down in the comment section and tell us. Be sure to watch all 10, then drop down, tell us what you would add to the list. So when I am talking about the 10 Cricut must-haves for beginners, my number one is something to train you to use your Cricut machine. So if you already have your Cricut, you'll know when you open the box, there is no manual. There is no how-to guide. So the first thing I would recommend is to find some source of information. Now, you are in the right place. So on this YouTube channel, we have tons of Cricut tutorials. I even have a playlist on my main channel called the Cricut Start Guide, and you can definitely start there. I have a free Cricut class, and I will link to that below. I also have a Cricut book, so if you like a manual, something to hold in your hands, you don't want video, I have published a Cricut book. You can order that now. I'm going to put a link to it in the description below as well. If you don't like any of those options, there are other courses and guides available from other YouTubers, bloggers, as well as Cricut themselves. They have videos, they have training. You can definitely head there and learn more about your machine. But the first thing I always say is that you need to learn your machine. Yes, you can just dive in with a project, learn as you go. However, if you don't put some time in, watch some videos, read a book, do a course, you probably won't get the most out of your Cricut machine. There are so many things your Cricut machine can do, and you have already made that investment. You want to be sure to get that back out of it. Our next must-have is mats. So you are going to need a mat to cut with most Cricut machines unless you're using smart materials. Your Cricut might come with a mat, it might not, but you're definitely going to want to invest in a mat or several mats. So there are actually different grip strengths when it comes to mats. I have a full video on the difference between mats, and I will link to that in the description below this video. You can head there, check out the different mats, and decide which ones you might need to purchase now and which ones might be specialty mats, because there are specialty mats that you can purchase at a later date. But I would definitely start with at least some mats. The most common mat for me, in case you're wondering, is the blue mat. Uses HTV, vinyl, most cardstocks can be used on the light grip or blue mat. So that's the most common one that I use and a great place to start. Next up on our must-have list is blades. So your Cricut machine came with at least one blade. All Cricut machines come with a fine point blade. That cuts a ton of common materials. Vinyl, HTV, cardstock. When you want to get more in depth, you will need other types of blades first of all. So other types of blades include the deep point blade. If you have the Maker series, you can get even more blades for your machine. I do have a full video explaining all the blade options, and I will link to that in the description below this video. You can head there, check out the different blade options, and decide what you might need to order now, and learn a little bit so you know what you need to order in the future when you want to try some of those different and strange projects. Now, your machine came with one fine point blade. It does have a replaceable tip, so you can replace the blade as it dulls. Now, for me, it's usually a long time. However, I always keep replacement blades on hand because there's nothing worse than being in the middle of the project, it messing up, you thinking, I would love to try a new blade, and not having one and needing to run to the store. So I always keep replacement blades on hand, and that might be something you want to consider. Next up is a computer, some way to get your designs, a place to get your designs. All those things fall under this next one. So you can use your computer, your phone, a tablet. You can use all of those with your Cricut machine. However, anything mobile that includes tablets and phones will be limited on the features. So some of the features will not be available to you. If you want all the features, you're going to need a computer, and that is not a Chromebook. So it does need to be a computer. I do have a full video on choosing a laptop for your Cricut machine. If you're interested in that, I will drop the link below. So if you have your machine, then you'll need to get your designs. There are tons of designs in Cricut Design Space. You can hop around there. You can find free designs in Cricut Design Space. There are also websites that have free files that you can use with your Cricut machine. So I'll drop a couple of links in the description below for you, where I teach you how to sort the designs in Cricut Design Space and find those free ones, as well as my favorite websites for finding those free designs. Number 5 is tools. So I'm going to put tool set as number 5, and we're going to talk about another tool in a minute. But tool set. So Cricut does make a tool set. It has weeding tools, a spatula, as well as a scraper. These are very important, especially if you're going to do vinyl and HTV, but I do find them super handy for other things as well. So weeding tools allow you, like their picks, hooks, tweezers, allow you to pick up things once you've cut them. Then a scraper is what you would use to apply things down, like vinyl. Spatula, invaluable for removing things from the mat. Those small little pieces that might get stuck on your mat, just use your scraper and remove them. It is like the tool for cleaning your mat, in my opinion. So we have everything we need to make. We're gonna need some materials. So that's next on my must-have list. What kind of materials do you want? So I would recommend starting with a simple material when you get your machine to learn your machine. Those simple materials include vinyl, HTV, as well as paper. So I would start with a project that uses those materials and is fairly simple. I do have a video with 3 different beginner projects that you might start with if you are starting out, and I will link to that below. However, you don't have to go with those. You could go with something that, you know, you've seen online or whatever that looks simple. Just be warned that if you go with a more complicated project for your very first Cricut project, you might get very discouraged right up front. So next on our must-haves list is a heat source. So this is going to be required if you are using HTV or infusible ink with your Cricut machine. Now, that heat source for HTV could be an iron, or you could go with the Easy Press, or you could go all the way up to a full-size heat press. The options are kind of limitless, and you don't have to go all the way at the beginning. You can use your household iron when you get your Cricut machine, and then decide, hey, I really like this HTV stuff, I really want to use it more, and upgrade later. Along with your heat source, especially if you're going to use an Easy Press, you might want an Easy Press mat, so that's another must-have to consider. Now both the heat source as well as the Easy Press mat are really only if you're going to do HTV or infusible ink projects. So if you're going to stick, like, I want to do all paper projects, by the way, you can add HTV to paper. If you don't want to do that, then you don't necessarily have to have a heat source as part of your must-have list. So this is a must-have for the people that want to use HTV and infusible ink and their Cricut machine. Now I will link to a video below to help you decide which of those is for you. But like I said, start out simple, start out with the iron you have at home. If you find it frustrating or it doesn't seem to be working correctly, it doesn't work the same as you see in videos on YouTube, it might just be the heat source and you might consider upgrading at a later date. Alright, our next must-have is technically another tool, but it's one of my favorites, and in my opinion, every Cricut user should have one, and that is the brayer. So what the brayer does is it allows you to press down that material, sort of like a small rolling pin, and you can press that material into the adhesive on the mat. It makes your mats last longer, makes your material stick better, and when your material is stuck better, your cuts are better. So in my opinion, brayer is non-negotiable. Everyone should have one, every Cricut user. Trust me, it will be life-changing. You will love it. And it doesn't matter what material you're cutting, run that brayer over it, press it down into that adhesive, and your cuts will be better. My next must-have is a printer, because so many people like to do things like print and cut and print along with their Cricut machine. Now, not everyone will need a printer when they're crafting with their Cricut machine, but I do find that a lot of users really use their printer in conjunction with their Cricut machine. So if you have a printer, just be aware that you will want to use it when you're crafting with your Cricut. If you don't have a printer yet, I would wait. And once you get into crafting and you see some of these printable materials, there's printable things you can put on your shirt, there's printable vinyl you can make stickers out of, and you start seeing these projects and you really want to make them, that would be the time to invest in a printer. My number 10 must-have for new Cricut crafters is pens. So your Cricut machine can cut, but it can also write. And it is really fun to draw with your Cricut machine. You can draw onto paper, They make writable vinyl, and you can draw onto vinyl and make labels. There are tons of different options for using pens with your Cricut machine. Now, this is something that you might not want to get into in the beginning, but I would recommend that you try it. So buy a small pack of Cricut pens. Just use one for a project or two. You might be hooked. You might be buying all the Cricut pens after that. But I would definitely give that a try when you are experimenting with your Cricut and seeing everything that it can do. As a bonus, I'm going to add one more thing to the bottom of this list, and it might be a must-have for you, it might not, but I do want to discuss it. And that is a Cricut Access subscription. So you can use Cricut Design Space, which is the software that powers your Cricut. You can use it 100% for free. You do not have to pay a monthly fee. So there are free designs, there are free images, there are free shapes, there are free fonts that you can use with your Cricut machine right in Cricut Design Space. And you can upload your own images. You can use your own fonts that are on your device with your Cricut. However, a lot of people find the Cricut Access subscription very convenient. So what happens is you pay a monthly fee to Cricut and you get access to a very large library of designs, images, and fonts. And for that monthly fee, you can use those as many times as you want. And also those designs will fall under what's called a Cricut Angel policy, which will allow you to use them for commercial use. So there are many people that really love their Cricut Access subscription. And what I recommend for a Cricut beginner is to give it a try. You usually get a free trial of Cricut Access when you buy a new Cricut machine. Give it a try. See how much you use it. See what files you like that have the little A beside them that are only with the Access subscription. Would you use it enough to justify the cost per month? If the answer is yes, try continuing the subscription for 3 months and see if you continue to use it. See if you continue to like it. If you don't, you can cancel at any time. So it doesn't hurt anything. So I always recommend just giving it a try. See how much you use it. See if it is a wise investment for your crafting. If it's not, use the free version of Design Space. With both of those, you can get the most out of your Cricut machine. So if you're new to the world of Cricut crafting, I hope this helps you find those must-haves that you really must have to start crafting with your Cricut machine. And I know you are going to love your Cricut machine. I just would encourage you to broaden out. Think of all the things your Cricut machine can do, because it can cut so much more than just vinyl, HTV, and paper. I have tons of examples here on my YouTube channel of Cricuts cutting a wide variety of materials. Expand out beyond those basic materials because it will make you love your Cricut machine even more. So thank y'all so much for joining me. If you have any questions about my must-haves for Cricut beginners or your suggestions as well, you can leave those in the comment section below. If you like this video, if it helped you, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.